All right, so here we are, second cup of coffee. It is
Yay!
12:02, close to noon, but we are there, coming off a great morning. So I was up early, just as I like to be. I was getting myself up closer to the 5 a.m. mark when we were doing that big running thing. But back at it now, where I'm not spending 4 or 5 hours running. Got up at my 4:13 today, and just getting back at it. Just it gives you that moment to just get yourself right, get yourself going, and then teach yourself commitment, right? Teach yourself accountability. And whether it's us looking at ourselves or us looking at others, we need that accountability. We need to find that accountability into ourselves and to think about why it needs to happen. Because without it, that's where we find what?
When we find ourselves and hold ourselves accountable, we find all sorts of goal setting. We find like the way, our path. See, today I woke up early as well, and I'm waiting for a couple of books to come, and I did some yoga, and I went for my run, which was amazing. And I realized that you cannot listen to Brene Brown, Daring Greatly, great book, but you cannot listen to that book while you're running. Because it's the second time I've listened to this book and I've had to stop because I've started hyperventilating because she's just said something so poignant. And she's talking about vulnerability, and it's about like really showing kind of the real you to those people who deserve it. So that was my takeaway from my morning. And how I hold myself accountable is to wake up every morning and to give myself that moment for just me without the children. They're awesome, but if my cup isn't full, then how can I fill the cups of my children?
That's great. Let's shed a little more light on this right here. So we'll pop on our little glow light in the back. But without that accountability factor, we can't ultimately find our fulfillment, right? We ultimately can't find what it is to us. And so just talking to Sam Bakhtiar before, super successful doctor, entrepreneur. He was a bodybuilder who won 23 titles in his 18-year career. Just a tremendous story. But he just said, as I found a way that I could now have my daily expenses covered, right? I wasn't living paycheck to paycheck anymore. My next goal was to find what was important to me. What were the things that stood out? And first and foremost was family. And second was providing. And third was health. And they all parallel. He wants to spend as much time with his family. But if he's not able to provide for him, then he's not going to be able to do that. So the second step was being able to provide for his family. And the third step is that if he wasn't able to continue and working on his health, then all the other two would be out the window because he wouldn't be able to be there for his family or provide. So finding that balance of having those three things, having family, having now the clarity that he needs to figure out what it takes to provide, and third, just keeping his health on par. That becomes the key factors, and it becomes that simple, right? So if you focus on those three factors, well, that grounds you and gives you the accountability you need to know that these are the three things I need to be fulfilled. But to do these, I'm going to have to be accountable for my actions. And that ties in more to what we intended to start out with today is what has Star Wars taught us lately? And why Star Wars works and why Star Wars was so successful of a movie is that, well, what do we have? We have resistance and we have hope. And that ultimately is how life goes. That's how life really plays out. We continually have resistance, and it's in our life, our health, our wealth, in the environment around us, in our surroundings, in our relationships. But with that, we find ways to endure, and through hope to find a better side. And that's what makes the movie so drawing, is that each time that they find their next level of happiness, well, a new Death Star is created, or something blows up, or something becomes the next issue that they have to contend with, right? But through hope, they find that way. And now with COVID, or with these points here where I was listening to something where a gym owner is not able to open their gym. There's other people just losing their businesses because they don't have that. And it's hard to have hope, but that's the one thing that we can't lose. We can't lose that thought about, okay, this is not great, but I have to have hope that this will get better. I have to have hope that this will become a lesson that I can learn from, right? And with that, if we use hope to our advantage and we continue to put in the work that made you successful before something came up like a virus that wasn't in your control, well, the other side will come out better.
So what is the opposition that you're dealing with? Is it the First Order? Is it Darth Vader? Is it whoever it is? There's always that dark side. There's always that dark side that you have to hit up against, that you have to resist against, that you have to go up against, and you have to find things. And sometimes you're going to fail and fail miserably, but then you pick back up again using the hope and the faith that you have in what you believe the light is true, and you move forward. Did you hear that we were talking about Star Wars?
3 books.
So our kiddos are obsessed with Star Wars. They're humming the theme songs in the morning, but it's allowed us to find the fun in that. And if we can stop being so serious with our days and our lives and start to try and find the kid in us again, that can solve a lot of problems just within themselves. We have a lot of things that come with the responsibilities of being grown-ups, having kids, having reliability, having expenses, having everything on point. But we lose that novelty. We lose that approach of just looking at something through a new lens. And with that, if we could try something new, try something interesting, try to find something that's engaging when things are bad, something that can take our mind off of it, whether that's reading, writing, painting, learning a new skill, open a Shopify store, or anything. If it takes something that's not the best for you, but at least can change your mindset, playing video games, you name something. If something can take you out of your current state and get you past that moment, because we can live in the now, we can't live in the future and the past. And another great thing from that point was that if we're not living in the now, then we can't find our fulfillment. Because if we're living in the past, we're basically depressed. And if we're living in the future, we have anxiety. And if you look at those 3 points right there, well, okay, I can't live in the future. I'm not there yet. The past has happened. There is not a time machine until Elon Musk finds one. But in that fact, we're not there yet. And when we do you want to go back and fix it? Or can you learn from what you have now and learn from everything you're doing and everything you have, and what can be great, what can be your best self, and what can be better about today? Where can the hope in your day shine through by trying something new and engaging to get you excited?
So what are the action steps that will take you to that next step, that'll put you past your opposition? So I'm thinking about, and I have this weird mind that remembers things. So Poe has one way of doing things. He and Finn were going to go and try and figure out a way to take down the Star Destroyer by going in and finding this code breaker to break the code, to get through the force field, to get in, to destroy the whatever thing. And they get caught, and that doesn't work. Well, whereas what Holdo, and I'm actually a Star Trek fan, I'm just saying. Holdo has another idea. She's just going to take all the people, put them into the pods, and get them to this world safely while she stays up in the ship, and hopefully everybody, the resistance, will get to the planet safely. Did both plans work? Well, one failed miserably. The other one kind of failed too, because a lot of the resistance fighters died. But the resistance itself lived on. And if you guys, hopefully we're not ruining the movie for anyone. I guess we should have thought about that before we talked about it. But just think of it this way. The plans that you have, chances are they're going to fail miserably. They're going to partially fail, or
they're going to partially win or succeed. Yeah. And
so what's the harm in trying? Try. Have the hope, have the faith that you will put together a plan that will take you to that next step, that will give you that hope and drive that you need, that we all need to take that next step, to get up earlier in the morning, to have our time for ourselves, to have the best day. And if you have children, to give your children your 100% when you're in front of them. And if you're also working, which a lot of us are, then to be able to give your 100% to your work. But how are you going to do that? By making sure you're fulfilled and making sure you have a plan.
So some steps you could take, some actionable steps, is that if you have a job, you were used to a structure, right? So you were getting up, you were having breakfast, you were getting up at the same time, you were either showering, working out, or doing one in between, saying hi to your family, and going into for your familiar commute to be in an office surrounded by familiar people and having a process. And now if you're home, and luckily enough, even if you have some structure that maybe work, but if you don't, well, you have to find structure back in your day. You have to give yourself the guidance to be able to give yourself familiarity so you can get your routine going back. Because if you wake up in chaos, your day is chaos. There's no in between. If you wake up in chaos, your day is chaos, and it's hard to come back from it. You need to wake up and have structure to your day to give yourself the balance. When things do come up that aren't ideal, that you have that backbone to rely on. You have that foundation that you can build upon. So what can you do right now to get steps in order with your day, with your time, with your actions, so you can go about and really put in your best self and not just be set to wake up and take what comes? And that's why planning becomes so important. What is your plan for today? What are the action items that you have to do? And another great thing is doing your to-do list, but it's looking at what's my not to-do list. What are the things I'm doing right now in my day that are ultimately wrong for me, that are ultimately not best suited for what I should be doing? How can I eliminate them and focus on what's the good? What are these good things? What are these? I mean, could be 3 good things that can really just make my day better, push me further ahead, help me get to that next step, or help me out of my funk I'm in now. And a lot of them are going to be with family, work, fitness. And if you can do something in that path, to look at it, say, okay, instead of having, a Coke today, can I drink a gallon of water? Or instead of watching a movie, can I maybe read 10 pages first so I engage myself? What can I do to get me to that next level of accountability, of success, so I'm on the road to find my better self?
Accountability is hard, folks, but it's not at the same time. If you make the decision to hold yourself accountable to the ideals that you hold high. So I am running this challenge this week, and it's really simple. I ran 1 mile on Monday, 2 miles on Tuesday, 3 miles today, 4 miles tomorrow, 5 on Friday, and 6 on Saturday. So today I'm running. And of course I had to stop because I had this vulnerable moment and I was hyperventilating. So I started walking, and then I kept on running, and I came home and I was just like, okay, I had to get inside because Luke needed to be on his call. Jason thankfully jumped on, and I'm thinking to myself, I'm like, oh, I still have a 1/4 mile to go, but Luke needs me. So I went in, took care of Luke, and Jason asked, how much did you finish your run? How'd you go? Really amped. And I'm like, oh, I could be just done right now. I could just say I did the 3 miles and be done with it. Nope. I still have a 1/4 mile to get out there and do. What I'll probably do is just stick the kids in a stroller and have Luke jog next to me, and it'll be a nice and fun 1/4 mile for everyone. Mm-hmm. But I am talking to you, that you have that little voice in your head that sometimes goes, you know what? I'll give myself that excuse. I just don't feel like it. I don't feel like doing that. Don't listen to that voice. Get it done.
It builds upon.
And you will know. You will know at the end of whatever challenge you're doing that you didn't actually complete it. You didn't do that 1/4 mile. That's like less than 100 steps or something. Just get it done and do it correctly and hold yourself accountable to those standards that will take you to the next level.
It's 500 steps, by the way. Whatever. 2,000 steps on average running in a mile. But you've heard it here. You can judge it yourself if you want those details that I harness over. And so on that point, find where you can be better. Find what you can do to really, really push yourself to that next level. And there will be days you fall off. Okay, you ate French fries. Don't kick yourself, but have the mental fortitude that you get yourself back on track. Because if you do it and you have it compound day in and day out, well, a month down the road, that's why you've gained that 10, 15, 20 pounds. But if you have a day and you eat, okay, so what? Let's move forward. Great. Let's do this. Let's get out there and be active. So we have happy day.
You guys want to?
Tomorrow we have Chris Jackson on the show. Chris is going to come in here and give us some great insight on what we have going on, what's happening here. He's going to talk about really just the influx of moving out of suburbia into demand. And it looks like the natives are restless. So we're going to move on. Have a super Wednesday. Go out there, take action. Let's do this.